Do not settle for the crumbs. You should have the whole cake, the icing, and the cherry on top too.
We're back. It's the Crumbs episode 19, and we're lucky enough this week. It's a very special episode, and we couldn't have a special episode without our favourite OG co-host, Caro.
Hello. All the way from Vegas once again.
All the way from Vegas. I don't know if you've got the shades on. I actually can't see you in my studio.
I very much do have the shades on.
You've got the shades. It would not be the same without it. Some great feedback from the listeners. Now, I need to sort out, by the time you're back, and you're coming back in June, you'll be back for a little while before you head off to the UK. I need to get some bling, and I need a pair of shades. So I will work on that. I'll work on that for our viewers, and I will... Had a couple of messages this week. Jenny has been wearing her Crumbs shirt out and about, pretty
Love
proudly.
That. Thank you, Jenny.
We got some new shirts. Some merch is on its way. We had a couple of winners earlier this year, and their shirts are in the mail. Exciting times, Caro. Exciting times. And it's exciting today because, of course, you're in the US. You're seeing everything up close and personal. It's WNBA season getting underway in the next 24 hours. How pumped are you?
I'm so pumped. I'm going to try and catch a few games before I head home, but I do have some personal beef with the fixturing and the scheduling. It didn't go my way at all, but that's fine. But yeah, so pumped. It's been awesome to be around it for the first time, like actually around it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Tell me what your personal beef is, so I have an understanding of that.
So I'm going to Washington, D.C. next week. And the week that I'm in Washington are in Vegas playing.
Bummer.
And then I come back and they go back.
Yeah,
so there's no games in DC while I'm there. And because the first half of the season, they mostly stick to their conferences because they're playing Commissioner Cup games. And I really want to see New York play.
Yeah.
But obviously New York are not coming to the West Coast. So I was like, oh, but I'm in Washington. No. But they play in Washington 3 days after I leave. So I have a lot of words that need to be said to Kathy about their fixturing. But that's fine. We'll hopefully go to a Vegas game and potentially an LA game before I depart.
Fantastic. Good luck. Let us know how you go when you voice your opinions. I'm sure they'll be really receptive.
Yeah, they will be.
So today's a special episode, and I know that means that our very small viewership may be even smaller, but I also know there'll be a handful of our viewers who are really interested in this. Q, Lil BT, I hope you're watching, BT. This one's for you, and maybe Gab might watch too. Jenny's probably switching off, but she might listen and follow just
Jenny,
to support us.
Stay.
She wants to support us. She'll listen along. It's starting tomorrow. It's here. There's anticipation like we've never had before. And we said a couple of weeks ago, it was like the March Madness tournament went to the draft, went to the preseason, or went to camps, went to the preseason, final rosters have been released, and now it's here. And on my screen, I've got an image, Carrie. The Dallas Wings have sold out their first home opener against Minnesota. Everyone is just waiting to see what happens. And, of course, everyone waits to see what happens with these absolute guns that come from college. What are they going to do? What impact are they going to have in the WNBA? And we've seen a mixed bag over recent years, of course. Let's take Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, off the table here. But there has been a mixed bag. It hasn't always worked out as people have thought it would. But the spotlight's on Paige Beckers for obvious reasons, and obviously playing a home opener against the runner-up who were really close to taking down New York in that final series, the Minnesota Lynx led by Queen Fee. Like, is this a game you're watching and you're going to be tuning into just to see that matchup and to see what she does?
100%. I mean, I think I always have like a lot of, I don't know if empathy is the right word for these rookies, because I think people sometimes forget that it isn't college and they're going up against fully grown women who have been in the league for many years, like absolute professionals. And so they're not going to go and score like 30 points in their first game. They're going to have their welcome to the league moment. So I do I always feel a little bit of just like we need to, like, I want to remind everyone, can we give these rookies a bit of grace just because they're Paige Beckers and they're the number one pick? Like, I don't get me wrong, she's still going to have an impact, obviously, because she's Paige Beckers, but like, you know, might not be looking at a 20-point game, her first game, which we shouldn't be. She's a rookie. Like, that's not how it goes. So I'm sure she'll have an impact. And I think going up against Minnesota will be very interesting because they're one of my picks to win it all. I think they want redemption after last year. But I think we just got to remember that it is like her first professional game. She's a rookie. Like, she's going to have her welcome to the league moments. Like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows when you first get there. So I just hope fans remember that and don't take to social media after the game if she only scores like 8 points and start going berserk, you know?
Yeah, it's a watch, isn't it? And that's
Yeah.
the beauty and the beast of social media is that people can really
Yeah.
instantaneously publicly share their thoughts and opinions. And I think we all know that is going to happen. I hope for her sake she has a reasonable first up effort, gets the monkey off her back and can push forward. But I've got a slide up now, Caro, and I thought this was really cool because it's all well and good to sit here and say, oh, the numbers are big and the audiences are great. And we do throw out actual figures sometimes on the Crumbs when we do our research when we have a bit of time. But the Aces, for the second year straight, have sold out their season tickets. Now, they made, I suppose, history in the WNBA last year. They were the first franchise to sell out every home game. All 15 home games last season were sold out. They've sold out their season tickets again. There's actually a wait list for 2026. But there's 4 other franchises, and you'll find this one interesting. There's 4 franchises in 2025 that have sold out their season tickets. The Indiana Fever, of course, no surprise. Atlanta Dream, a little bit of a surprise. Dallas, no surprise. The Connecticut Sun. Now,
I don't understand.
They are going to come up in discussion a little bit because there's a lot sort of to dissect there, but they have sold out season ticket sales. Now, four plus the Fever, so there's 5 teams altogether. It's a big, I mean, it's a great look for the league, but how cool is it to see this stuff happening? And it's actually not right now based on results. It's based on popularity.
Exactly.
And I love that more than anything, right?
You go.
I was just going to say, often, Collingwood Magpies, for example, you're welcome, Dill, mentioning your team. But they win a lot and people pay and they go and watch them because they win a lot. At home, teams that don't win a lot, no one goes to watch them. These teams aren't necessarily teams that are winning or potentially, like, it's very unlikely at least 4 of those teams are really in the mix outside of Vegas. And yet they're selling out season tickets. I find that really cool.
I'm convinced the Connecticut one's a glitch. Like, you cannot tell me their website didn't crash because there is no way that they've sold it out. Like, hello? They lost their whole team. Like, where's the fan base? Like, someone literally, when they were like talking about how, sorry, this is like a spoiler alert, but like when they're like, we're talking about getting sold, and someone was like, oh, it's like a dying, like, I don't know, market in Connecticut. They should move. Well, they just sold out their season tickets. Like, hello. Anyways.
I had a request during the week from a follower that the Crumbs should look to purchase the Connecticut Sun. I think it's a brilliant idea, and if that person would like to invest with the Crumbs to make that happen, then I think I'd be a pretty good GM. I reckon Caro would be a pretty good assistant GM.
No, I'm the coach. Hello.
I thought you only taught baseball.
If you're the GM, I'm definitely the coach.
Hey, we'll get into it because we don't have too long, but we do want to run through. Today's a special episode. We're going to run through every team just briefly, and then a bit like we did for AFLW last season, you, myself, and Jordan have put in our tips for some of the sort of the big outcomes for the year. Who could win it? Who can't win it?
To protect Jordan's reputation, we should get rid of his tips because some of them are just plain right stupid.
I must say I was in a hurry today. I ran out of time, and so I'm hoping I didn't accidentally put his tips in place of yours because you might lose it.
I'll
if
know
you
if they're wrong.
see.
I'll intervene if I see something that's wrong.
It's probably a good idea. Hey, we're going to kick it
Mhm.
off, and we're going in alphabetical order. Atlanta Dream.
Yep.
Now,
Yeah.
obviously, and on my screen, I've got the current roster. So we've got every team's roster we're going to show on the screen. But we are going to talk about this because we know we're obviously those listening on Spotify. Hello, Kira. Brittany Griner. I've got her as sort of
Yeah.
the big one here. So she's come in from Phoenix. But talk to me a little bit about Atlanta, Caro.
Atlanta's an interesting one, and they always are. Like, they're kind of just like, I always just talked about them being there. Like,
Yeah.
they're not necessarily the worst, but like, they're just there. And so when I saw that Brittany Griner was going there, I was like, that's massive. Because, like, I never thought she would go to Atlanta. Like, again, Atlanta, they're just there.
Yeah.
But they got Brittany Griner, and they've also, I think, one of their moves that has been overlooked is they got Brianna Jones from Connecticut. Like, that's some twin. Like, they're two skyscrapers that are going to be in that key. Like, I don't think they're going to be, necessarily like top 4, top 5 team, but they're going to be interesting. And obviously, they have Ryan Howard, who's been kind of building for a few years after being the number 1 draft pick,
Yeah.
and Naz Hillman and Alicia Gray. Like, it's a very interesting one, and I feel like they're kind of going to be, again, just simmering in the middle, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit higher up, playoff bound. But yeah, they're going to be I'm going to have my eyes on them because they always just kind of do their thing in the background, and I'm always happy for them because they're just doing their thing. Like, they've always been inoffensive. That's
Yeah.
how I like to describe it.
Yeah, that's a good
Just
way
kinda
of putting
beating
it. It's a good way of putting it.
But-
They've always middle of the road, like not doing
Yeah.
anything, but they're not terrible either.
No, they're just there. But like, I mean, I hope that they have a season that's a bit more than that and they're a bit more threatening. But I mean, I think they're going to be exciting to watch. I think that's what they always are. They're exciting to watch.
Yeah, and
'Cause
their
they're
big
young.
additions are going to help
Yeah.
with that really fun to watch play. We'll move on, and we're going in alphabetical order. Chicago, a second on my list, Chicago Sky, and I've got Angel Reese on the screen because I know they've got some other players that are important, but we see players often come into the league, particularly from college, from NCAA play, Caro, and they do well, but then there's some who do well and then sort of simmer off, and there's some that do well but then like take it to the next level. Is that the question for the Sky, and is Angel Reese's position in this team and her development really going to help them take their team to the next level?
I think Chicago, they again have some additions that I think have been overlooked in the off season. I mean, bringing back Courtney Vandersloot from New York, she's just a handy player to have on your team, like always. Like, she's a calming. They call her the general for a good reason.
Yeah.
So I think, and also with the addition of Beck Allen, I mean, fingers crossed that she has a healthy season and that she has no interruptions like she's had previously. I don't necessarily think Angel Reese will be, I guess, the main character of the team. Like, I think they have actually a lot of good, solid players that may not be like the all-stars we always hear about, that I think if you put them all together, they're actually going to be, I think they're going to be a well chemistry team, if that makes sense.
Well, and we
But obviously
saw that.
Camilla,
You go.
Oh, I was going to say, with Camilla and Angel and McKee, obviously they're two youth, like young, like obviously second year, but like still young, but they're obviously going to be dangerous. Like, you can't go past them.
No. And I thought it was cool. You talked about the connection and like bringing players together. Like when Hailey Van Lith signed or was drafted, and immediately Angel Reese came out and she was like, well, we didn't win it. Like we couldn't get it done when we played college ball together. So like, hey, let's run it back. Like, I thought that was cool when I was reading that story. And I think for her, like that connection, even for her, may help her be a better player. And I think last year too, she needed to be less of a villain. Not saying she tried to be a villain, but I think she spoke a lot. I think she just needs to play. And
Yeah.
You know, the narrative from the media is all well and good, but I do think Caitlin Clark played basketball and that was her talking. Angel Reese had to
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
very
don't think
true.
that worked for her.
No, did not.
But I think you're right. They've got a good team and they've got some good
Yeah.
young players. And if they can like have some chemistry on the court,
Yeah.
you know, then they'll improve. Moving on to what is just an interesting scenario in Connecticut because, and we talked about this
I don't
off
know what's
air.
going on there.
For those of you who don't really follow the WNBA, this team don't have anyone left from their starting five last season, in addition to some of their bench players who are gone as well. This is like, it's been touted as a big, bold rebuild. Is that what we're talking here, Caro? Like, how do you see this?
I don't see it as a rebuild. I see it as like shit's hits the fan. And they're just like, you cannot tell me to rebuild, you're going to get rid of all your whole starting five. Like, that's not a rebuild. Like, that's like they've left because they weren't happy or something. And you've been left with a pile of nothing and you've called it a rebuild. Like, I feel bad for Marina Mabrey. She tried to get out of that sinking ship, but she did not, unfortunately. So, I mean, I'm a massive Marina Mabrey fan, so I will be watching the Connecticut Sun solely for her. And I'm sure she'll be carrying the team both on and off the court. I don't know if you've been like tuned into her off the court antics recently, but she's become quite a fan favorite on the TikTok.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like I just they waved Diamond to Shields this morning. I was like, you don't need to be waving her. You don't have anyone. Like this isn't one of those times where there's too many good players. Like I don't know why we waved her. But look, to me they're gonna be bottom of the ladder, like not a lot going on, but I don't know. It's just weird. They're weird. I don't know what's going on behind those closed doors. But then again, if they need a head coach, I'm happy to step in. Like, just putting it out there.
You're doing a lot of head coaching jobs at once here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to quote this in some kind of post on our socials at some point. But leaving a pile of nothing on the ground is like the quote of the day.
It's literally what it was.
And again, for the listeners out there, Marina Mabrey, who is their star player, she did try and leave. She requested a trade to get out and they said no. So we all know how those scenarios often end. So I'm really intrigued to see how that all plays out. Like I don't know what she's going to be dishing out for us, but like we'll be watching. She's a superstar.
I love her.
So that's an interesting one. That's one of the biggest watches for the season already.
Yeah.
Dallas Wings though, and I've got their roster up on the screen. Of course, we're all watching Paige Beckers, but what are your thoughts based on what you saw last season from the Wings? And how do you think this stardom that's come to Dallas is going to impact what they can do this year?
Well, I think I wouldn't call it a rebuild, but I actually think, again, their off-season's been overlooked with not just their draft edition. I mean, they got, did you know, I forgot how to say her name.
Carrington, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot how to say her name for a sec. And Melissa Smith, like they're two big pickups.
Yeah.
Who obviously work well together. They played together in college. Like, I feel like obviously Paige is their biggest addition, but they've kind of added some other people in. Like last year, Dallas were not, like they were, again, just there. Like I was kind of like, there's nothing. They had Arike Ongumbawale, obviously, but like she's proven she can't carry a team.
No.
You know? So I feel like they're low-key going to be like really good, and not just because of Paige. I think they're going to have a really good chemistry. I think their starting five will be really strong.
Yeah.
I think where they'll run into problems potentially is their depth on their bench.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they get like an injury to someone in their starting five, they might be a bit cooked.
Yeah.
But I think they'll do pretty well. I think they will be playoffs, all that. And obviously Paige, I think, will be a really good addition for them, not just on the court, but just attracting off-court attention. Because I think, again, they've been a team that just like no one really cares about. No one really gives a shit. Like it's just like, oh, okay, like whatever. So I think she'll be good for the team in all aspects, obviously. And I'm interested to see how they go. I don't think they have enough star power and enough kind of oomph to like really be a contender, but I think they're going to be in the playoffs, and I think they'll be competitive, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think your comments about Arike are spot on, and that's from where I sit. That could be really impactful for her game because
Mm,
she needs depth around her. And I know what you're saying.
yeah,
That they're missing like Dallas. Dallas are missing like a Dewana Bonner type player. Like
yeah,
I know people are saying, and we'll come back to Indiana in a minute, but people are saying, well, she's over the hill, she's past her prime, and those comments are probably accurate. But a player
yeah,
like that who can walk in and she's a bit LJ, like, we talked about the GOAT going to the
yeah,
Olympics, and she's that type of player. And I just feel like maybe
yeah,
Dallas are missing one player with a
yeah,
bit more experience at WNBA level. Like, I'm talking 10 plus years of experience to
yeah,
really help on the court and even off the court if they're not playing many minutes. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm excited. And I think you're right. Bringing some people to watch their team. It's a bit like Indiana to start with last season. People weren't
yeah,
watching because they wanted to watch Indiana. They were watching because they wanted to see
yeah,
what Caitlin Clark did. And I think this will be the same and really help the brand. The
exactly.
next team is, I know one you're really excited about, and it's Golden State. And we saw a
Hell
huge,
yeah.
sold out attendance for their preseason games. They were actually pretty good in the preseason. This is one of the players I'm really watching closely is Kate Martin. I know you're a big Kate
Yeah,
Martin fan. And
yeah.
she was a pickup. I'm not sure many people saw that one coming. But she's now with the Valkyries. But how are you feeling about, it's always interesting when a new team comes in because even if
Yeah.
they've got good players, it's so unknown as to, where they're going to land. But how are you feeling about it leading into game one?
I think they're interesting. I think what they have going for them obviously is there's kind of not really an expectation on them. Like no one really knows what they're going to be, and everyone knows they're just kind of all being thrown together. They don't really have like a real like star player. Like they kind of just all their players are like just solid players. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like no one really knows how they're going to go, and I think that's going to work in their favor because there's going to probably be like there's obviously the pressure to be the new team and to make a statement, but like no one's like backing them in to be like like a final contender. So I think they'll just spend the season kind of figuring out how each other play. And I think they'll pull off some really good upsets. Like that's what I reckon they'll be. They'll be the team that just come out one game and like beat the Aces or beat New York, and everyone's going to be like, damn, like what? And it's just because they have no pressure, they have no real expectation on them. So they kind of just can go out and play and like try it out because again, none of them have played together before really at all. And no one, the coach is new. So I'm really excited. Kate Martin's a big one for me. Obviously, I think both on and off the court, she's just going to be great for them. Everyone loves her. We see Steph Talbot, Australian, back out there, which will be good. I'm
Yeah.
glad to see her back in the league. And you have some veteran experience in there with Monique Billings and Kayla Thornton and Tiffany Hayes. But I mean, I just think they're going to be the team that they're just going to be young and energetic and fun to watch. Like they might not win a whole lot of games, but they're going to be fun.
Yeah, I think you're right too. And you've talked about connection a little bit already with a couple of teams, but for a
Mm,
team who hasn't really played together for more than 5
yeah,
minutes, like for them to figure out their brand of basketball and how they're going to play, that's going to take time. I think you're right. This is like the opposite of the Aces because the Aces
yeah,
obviously, for their standard, they bombed out of the finals last season. And then,
yeah,
New York and Minnesota went on to play off for the championship. So there's sort of pressure on Vegas because everyone's like, well, now what happens? And obviously Kelsey Plum's gone. But
mm,
you're right. The Valkyries are the opposite of that. They can come out and if they barely win a game, well, no one's going to really say anything. Whereas if Vegas lose a bunch
exactly.
of games
Yeah,
and they, finish down lower than they finished last season, well, everyone's going to be talking about that. So there's freedom, there's flexibility. I think we're going to see a bit of
yeah,
flair. I think we are going to see some players stand up whose maybe names we haven't talked about a lot historically. And that's what's
yeah,
exciting. And I can't wait to see Steph out there, just like you said. Indiana. Indiana
hmm,
Fever. Everybody's talking about the Indiana Fever. And they're talking about them, I think, Caro, their social media team had to be amazing because everybody's following them and everybody wanted to follow them, but the stuff they're putting out is legit, like high level content. It's great what they're doing.
Yeah.
And as I said, everyone was watching Indiana and following last season, not to follow Indiana because they didn't really know who the Fever were and didn't care and they weren't that good. But they wanted to follow Caitlin Clark. But now people want to follow because I think they're a legit team. Like if you look at some of the players on that roster, and I'm looking on the screen and I'm going, okay, Lexi Hull's in the middle there. They brought in Dewana Bonner. Caitlin Clark's going to be better for it. They got Kelsey Mitchell up there. Like, is this the year that we see Indiana come out and do more than ever before? Like, what is the feeling that this isn't Caitlin Clark anymore, but it's the Indiana Fever again?
Yeah, 100%. I was talking about this with someone the other day. I think they're going to be a real contender, and not because of Caitlin Clark necessarily, but because of them as a team. I think they're going to be, it's not going to just be the Caitlin Clark show in Indiana. Obviously, she's going to have her 30-point games, her 40-point games, but I think there's going to be a lot more to that team, and I'm really excited for it. Like, even people like Brianna Turner, Dewana Bonner in the key, both of them together, they're going to be a real dangerous force. Obviously, along with Aaliyah Boston too. I think she will just be getting better and better. She's now had 2 years under her belt in the league, so she's shaken off those kind of, like, I guess, getting used to the league, and she's kind of found herself a bit more. And Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull, both really strong 3-point shooters. They're going to be dangerous from beyond the arc. Natasha Howard as well brings experience. Like, I look at this roster and I'm like, you know what? They're contending. Like, they're 100% contending.
Yeah.
And Sydney Colson, I mean, everyone loves her off the field, off the court. She's a really good addition to that team, I think, especially a team that has so much, I guess, attention on them and pressure. It's nice to have someone like that behind the scenes that is obviously a really good person for team culture. So I honestly think they have all aspects covered, and I'm expecting big things from them and not necessarily just riding off Caitlin's back.
Yeah, so you mentioned Sophie Cunningham. She had a massive preseason. Like, she was out of this world. But I can't wait. And I think too, what I've seen following the media surrounding both the WNBA and Indiana, they've made a real purpose of not featuring Caitlin Clark all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're featuring her, it's amongst a bunch of other players. And when there's an opportunity, they don't put her out the front. They put her second or third. And that, I think that's been noticeable. It's been purposeful, and I like that. And as a team, I can see how that could go the other way and be really difficult for that group to deal with. And this is no different to an Asia Wilson or, Michael Jordan with the Bulls or LeBron with the LA Lakers. And that's cool. But for a team and an organisation that's trying to find themselves, I think having this one person out the front who's constantly getting all the attention, I think making a point of not producing their media in that way is, I tip my hat to them for that. I think it's been a real win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, we move on to your locals, the Las Vegas Aces, and I mentioned Asia Wilson, and the MVP, just flat out number one player in the league last year. She didn't really get discussed because everyone was talking about the rookies and talking about how good Caitlin Clark was, but she is a superstar. We've seen all the media over the off-season around her shoe deal and the team wearing her bright pink sneakers, which has been awesome. I've loved watching that. I might buy a pair when I'm over there. I better save my dollars.
Yeah.
But how are we feeling about this team? Of course, Kelsey Plum has exited to end up in LA. Is she the story of the Aces? Or talk to me about your thoughts on Las Vegas, because they did end up losing a few players or parting ways with a few.
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of chit-chat around Vegas about a one particular storyline, and that is the, I guess, situation surrounding KB, Kirsten Bell, and how she needs to go. She needs to be waived, but instead they waived Deja Kelly, the rookie who scored, however, she top scored in their preseason game and shot the buzzer beater, and they waived her. And I was talking about this with someone, and I was like, they can't waive Deja. Like, they cannot. They need to waive KB. Like, KB's useless. No offense. Like, she's been there for 3 years and she's not proved herself. And you've got this rookie who just showed out in this preseason game, and she's exciting and she's young and she's got a lot of talent. And then they waived Deja. So I personally think they've kind of, excuse my language, fucked up their rookies. I think they've not done that well, and I think they need to get rid of KB. Apparently, she's on some protected contract, and that's why she can't get waived. But I was like, I thought no one was safe from getting waived. But anyways, so I think obviously they're starting five, and their like first called up bench, like Liz Kitley and stuff, they're going to be good. Like, they're going to be dangerous. They should be up there contending, obviously. Like, you know, that's what they're expected to do. That's what happens when you have the MVP on your team, and Chelsea Gray and Jackie Young. Like, they're no short of star power, even after losing Kelsey Plum, because they picked up Jewel Lloyd. So that was really just a swapsies. But I think that's the storyline that a lot of people are talking about in Vegas here at the moment, and what a lot of people are annoyed about is them waiving Deja Kelly and keeping KB, who to me is a waste of a roster spot, like a pure waste. But look, it's probably not really going to hurt them because they're just so strong in every other aspect. But that's what I think of the Aces, that Becky should not have kept KB at all.
Yeah, well,
and they really lost a good one.
Well, they've got depth, and at the end of the day, those players are probably not getting that many minutes anyway. And in saying that, though, you mentioned, you know, Jewel Lloyd, basically Kelsey Plum, is out and she's in. And I just wonder how that team chemistry works, because there's been a few little issues, you know, in and around Vegas over the last few years. Of course, De'Arica moving to LA and the issues surrounding that, and how it impacted their draft hand this year, and all those little things. I don't know. This is one of my most, I said this last year to you, I can't wait to see what happens in Vegas, because I feel like for a team and an organisation who's basically set the benchmark for the last 5 years, when it comes to winning, and when it comes to facilities, when it comes to audience, when it comes to like having a brand, like they've before Caitlin Clark and all those things were happening, it was the Aces who were doing those things for the league, and we saw their ticket sales and all that stuff. Sold out games. But I just wonder, with all this change and with all these little things that have been happening, like what is going to happen this season? I'm going to be really following them closely. They're one of my really, they're up there as a handful of teams that I'll be watching every week, just to see what happens, you know. And if they were to lose 2 or 3 games in a row, and, you know, and if they get an injury too, like if they lose one player, and I don't want anyone to get injured, but suddenly the whole dynamic of that team moves. So how will Jewel Lloyd fit in? Will the chemistry still be there? You know, you talked about keeping a player on a contract, and the discussion being maybe she shouldn't be there. How do all those things work? We're about to find out. I can't wait.
Yeah,
this one's exciting. This one's exciting. And if we flick forward to LA, so our next team is the Sparks. Now, they're coming off their worst franchise record in the history of the organisation. A pretty proud organisation. You know, a couple of months ago announced Candace Parker's jersey retirement game. Champions, you know, and obviously teams in LA under the spotlight because they should be doing well. And this team were terrible last season, let's be frank. They bought in Kelsey Plum, of course, so bought in a big name, and she's come out pretty openly and said, well, I'm only here for one reason, and it's to help the team win. Like, we want to be playing, we want to be in the playoffs. They lost Cameron Brink last year. She was sort of this shining light, and she played okay. She wasn't lights out by any means at the start. She did her ACL and was out for the season. There were a few other health issues with some of their players. Obviously, De'Arica Hamby, you know, comeback player of the year, I think. She was she either won it or was a finalist, and she was a superstar, but she couldn't carry that team on her own, and they were terrible. New coach, new sort of strategy. I think they're going to try and be a lot more offensive than they have been. But what are your feelings about the Sparks? Do you think they can push up quickly, or do you think it's another season of them sort of being down the bottom or middle of the range?
I think obviously Kelsey Plum's going to be a really helpful addition. She's crafty and she's not afraid to take the shots. So she could not carry the team, but she's someone that will make a huge difference. Whether one person's enough, I don't think so. I think they'll be a kind of mid-range, maybe pushing playoffs. I think it'll be cool to see De'Erica and Kelsey back together and playing together. I think that will be fun, and I think they have good chemistry. And then seeing Cameron Brink again, obviously healthy, will be great, and she'll be, a really, again, helpful addition, just having the key. But I don't see them as a threat. No, not really. I think they need someone else as well, just because of how stacked the other teams are. I think they'll struggle to match up against some of the more stacked teams. But I mean, I think they'll be obviously better than last year. There's no way they'll be as bad as they were last year, so they can take some confidence in that, I guess. But I don't see them as a massive threat. Not really. I think they'll just kind of be there again, and maybe Kelsey will have a lot of good games, but nothing too crazy, I don't reckon.
Yeah, and you wonder too, because obviously they had Cameron Brink, but they had Jackson as well come in from the draft in 2024, and she was pretty good. But you wonder the influence Kelsey Plum will have on her and Cameron Brink, and even Hamby to a point. And if she can sort of drive that progress a bit quicker, I agree. I'm not sure they're going to be pushing for playoffs, but you'd hope to see her have a big impact, but not just personally, have a big impact on that group and sort of bring them together a little bit. So another one to watch. I'm disappointed, Shanice Swain and Annalee Maley didn't make the final roster, but I know they were up against it. It's as you said, it's hectic going to those camps, and it's really hard to get through. Often the Aussies don't sort of scrape through, but hopefully Shanice over the next few years can get an opportunity. I'd love to see her, get court time in the WNBA at some point.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, we're on to, I don't want to give it away too early, but I will, because Minnesota are going to win the whole thing, in my opinion. They were so close last season. I mean, the Liberty won, and we all know they're the champions, and we've seen it plastered everywhere, and it's been awesome following, that championship win. And obviously the Aussie Sandy Brondello, head coach, we were happy for her. But Minnesota was so close. Queen Fee, who's just a superstar of the league and obviously superstar of the Lynx, she went and just delivered in spades with Unrivaled. She was the MVP. Her team won. She was the one-on-one champion, so she won all the money there too. I just feel like this is the year that they're going to take it out again, Caro. I'm not sure if you are in agreement. So I think you've got them up there as a team who can win, but I think they're after redemption. I'm calling it the Minnesota season of redemption. What do you think?
Oh, 100%. They are so going to get redemption. They lost so closely last year, ridiculously. I think you could definitely argue that, they could have won that, against New York. I think New York got a little lucky, but they're going to be out for redemption. I think not only do they kept most of their roster, there wasn't really any big changes with them. So I think they'll have that same hunger. Everyone on the team will remember the heartbreak from last year. So I think they're going to be dangerous, and they're going to stop at nothing to get their hands on that trophy. I mean, obviously Queen Fee is she's in her prime right now. She's all guns blazing. So I'm so excited to watch them. I want them to win it, just because I think, not that they were robbed last year, but I would have loved to see them win it last year. So I think for them to get their redemption, they obviously have Alana Smith as well, so an Australian represent, which is awesome. So yeah, I'm excited. I think they'll definitely be the front runners this year, and everyone should be probably scared of them because I can just see the revenge in their eyes already.
Let's go, Queen Fee.
Yes.
And that takes us to New York. Obviously, reigning champions. They've got a couple of sort of the well-known players, and they should be well-known. Sabrina, the 3-point. I mean, she was the 3-point guru before Caitlin Clark. She still is to a degree, but
Yeah.
she's the OG. Brianna Stewart, of course, but they're pretty star-studded. A lot of chat in the off season. They have brought in a couple of players, but a lot of chat in the off season about facilities and about that they're a really professional, at least externally, and the media perceive them and deliver the message really well that they're a really professional organisation. I think they're going to be in the mix, but I don't have them in amongst my winners. Do you think they're going to see some of the same successes as last year and be up there fighting for it? Or do you think they're going to fall a little bit this year?
I think their problem will be is like a little bit of like a premiership hangover. I think that they won't be as hungry, obviously, because they won it, but also because that win came from them getting kind of dumped together very quickly. Like it wasn't like this kind of 4-year build up to it with that kind of core. Like they kind of threw the core all together in like the last 2 seasons and then they won. So then they're like, oh, now what kind of vibe? So I feel like there's just not going to be a lot of hunger or determination with them. I think they'll obviously be good because you have people like Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. Like you can't not be good with them on your team. But I just don't think they'll have a lot of hunger. Like I think where they will get lost is when they come up against teams like the Valkyries who are young and hungry and like other underdogs. I think that's where their weakness will be because they won't be able to compete with this like really young, just gritty team. And so that's kind of where I see them. I mean, I personally am really excited to watch them because of Maureen Johannes, the wizard. She is like unbelievable. I mean, if she shows up this season, they're probably still going to be ridiculously dangerous just because she's crazy talented. But I don't see them making the final at all. I think they'll be in the playoffs, but I think by September they just won't have a lot left in them. I think they'll just be, you know, easily run over by teams that are more hungrier than them.
Yeah, they've got obviously some star players, but I think they're another team for me that if they lose one of those big players, I'm not sure they can take on some of the other teams without, like, you know, you can lose one player in another team and it may not have the impact. But I think if New York lose one, then they'll need a couple to cover it. So I'm not sure they can. Excited to see what they do, and I do love, I love watching Brianna Stewart. I think the way she goes, she's a pro. I love the way she goes about it. I love, how open and honest and authentic she is, and a lot of the players are. But she comes out and says what she thinks, and takes no prisoners. So I hope they keep doing that, and they'll be good to watch. But I don't think they're going to win it. Phoenix Mercury. Talk to me about them.
I don't think they're going to be really up there. I think they're going to be towards the bottom, just kind of chilling down there in the valley. No, I don't see them really being a threat. Like they obviously lost their 2 biggest players and pretty much what their identity was for 10 years, longer than that, with Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner. So I think they're going to struggle to find an identity and a face. They also have Kalia Copper returning. So she is obviously very, very energetic, very talented, very crafty, but I don't think they have enough star power. They brought in Alyssa Thomas, who's a veteran. She'll be great to have on the court, like just in terms of leadership. But I don't see them really being a threat. Like they have Sammy Whitcomb. She also moved to Phoenix, again, veteran, but I feel like they're at the very bottom of what they'll be for the next 5 years, and they'll slowly build up. If anything, people are trying to say Connecticut's going through a rebuild. I think Phoenix is going through a rebuild. I think you can say they're going through a rebuild. But yeah, I just don't really see them being much of a threat. They're just kind of going to be there, a bit like Atlanta to me. But I mean, they can prove me wrong. Feel more than free to, Phoenix. Like, prove me wrong. But and then again, I didn't know half their roster. I'm not going to lie. I
Yeah.
was like reading names, and I was like, because I went to the Vegas Phoenix preseason game, and I was like, who is that? Anyways, but yeah, I don't see them as a threat or anything. They'll be down the bottom
Yeah.
to me, but I wish them well.
I
I
wish
wish
them
them
well.
well.
Wish them well on their journey. And that
Yes,
takes
on their
us
self growth.
self growth. I love that. Seattle Storm, one of our
Hmm.
favourite teams to watch, not just because Ezzy plays for them, our
Hmm.
great Aussie who I've got on the screen. You can't see, but Ezzy Magbagor is on my screen, and she's a superstar outright. But Seattle, obviously, we have a link to them through the GOAT LJ
Hmm.
jersey hanging from the rafters. I love Seattle. I always have. I love their brand. I love their messages. I love the way they go about things. Is 2025 a year we're going to see Seattle sitting up the top?
I think one, they haven't really been talked about all of preseason. Like, I haven't really heard much about them. Like, obviously, I know who's on their team and stuff, but like, no one's really talked about them, even though they have big players like Neka, Agumake, Ezzy. They got the number 2 draft pick, the French girl.
Yeah,
I
dominate.
think they're going to be good. Yeah, I think they're going to be good. They're going to be up there. Whether, again, I just don't know if I can see them competing against teams like Minnesota and Vegas, but they're going to
Mm,
be up there. Like, they're
yeah.
they're a talented team, and they've got the facilities. I mean, we've seen all their off court stuff. It's like incredible. Um, they're professional, but they also had a big out with Katie Lou Samuelson tearing her ACL, who would have been a really handy addition. But then again, they've got Skylar Diggins. You can't go past veterans like Alicia Clark coming back in.
Mm-hmm.
Youngsters like Zia Cook and Lexi Brown, who has had a tough journey back to the WNBA. I don't know if you followed her journey, but she was out with the Sparks for a very long time with a sickness. And then one of my favorite players, Gabby Williams, is back. Love her. She is so fun to watch. So they're going to be good, even though no one's really talked about them and they've
Mm-hmm.
kind of just been doing their thing up in Seattle. They're going to be good. They're going to be playoffs, whether I don't see them making the final or really contending for the championship, but they'll be up there. And I think they'll be a threatening team and an exciting team as well. I think they've got all the pieces of the puzzle in terms of veterans and rookies.
Yeah. Did you see the Dominique Malonga? They put a social post up where she dunked at her first training. Did you see that?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're
She
right.
better dunk.
They have not talked about them a lot. But
Oh,
when we do hear about them and when we do see them, there's something about Seattle, and there just always has. I
yeah,
said there's this
yeah.
Seattle's a brand, it's a name, and it's a big time organisation. So I'm expecting big things from them. I think you're right. They're going to be up the top
Hmm.
in amongst it. I don't think they can
Yeah,
win the whole thing, but I do think they'll be in the mix at the back end of the season.
yeah.
And our last team, Washington, and I won't go say too much about this, but Jordan, our friend, our co-host here, seems to have a thing with Washington, and he thinks that they're the real
Stupid.
deal. Now, talk to me. I've got Jade Melbourne's on my screen, obviously Aussie, massive in Canberra this season in the WNBL. Like she's a flat out star. She was it rookie of the Olympics. Like she's had a massive
Yeah.
like couple of seasons or couple of years. She's going to get a lot of court time. Where are Washington going to finish in your opinion, and who should we be watching?
Well, not at the top, Jordan. Stupid. Hello. Like, genuinely, like, was that a typo? Did you mean to type someone else? Like, I don't know what you were doing, but no, they're not going to be winning the whole thing. Newsflash, Jordan. Do your research. Um, Look, I had a lot of hope for them when they had Georgia Amor, but obviously devastating ACL took her out. I think they don't have enough veteran power or star power. I think they're going to be fun. I think they've got more going for them than, say, Connecticut and Phoenix. But I just think, again, they just don't have the depth or the experience to really challenge these other teams.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to see Jade Melbourne thrive again. I think she's just only better since last season, and she'll bring a lot of just excitement on the court. And I think we'll really see her just like shine and be crafty. But they're just really missing out in kind of the veteran department. They have Stephanie Dolson, who's been around the league for a while. She's been on a lot of teams, but she's not, there's only one of her. There's
Mm-hmm.
not multiple. And so I think, unfortunately, they'll find themselves down the bottom again. But look, I, I have more hope for them than Phoenix and Connecticut. So you're not at the very bottom for me, Washington, but you're not at the top. Sorry, Jordan. Well, not sorry, actually. You should know better. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Do your research, apparently, Jordan. I do want to put this out to you, Caro, just before we get on to our predictions as the final part of this episode. I was talking to my better half the other night. She's trying to select a team. She hasn't had a team before, hasn't really followed.
Ooh.
She sort of feels forced. She feels forced into following because I talk about it a lot. And we were looking at the teams, and of course, what is the first thing that people who don't follow horse racing do? And they're going to pick a horse. They look at the colours and they look at the type of outfit. So she's looking at the logos, and the first thing she said was, "Who are the Washington Mystics? That logo's horrendous." So she's
good.
not.
I thought you were going to say good.
Oh no, she hates it. She hates it.
Okay, good.
Who has the best logo in the WNBA? Do you think?
Oh, wait, give me one sec. That's a good question. I'm gonna say, I mean, it's hard to go past New York, I'm not gonna lie. Like the teal.
I like New York.
with the
I
black.
don't mind.
New
I
York's
don't
really
mind
good.
Minnesota's logo.
Oh, I don't like
I
theirs.
don't mind Seattle's.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of the Fever. I think their logo is
Really,
cool.
I hate
I
theirs.
love their logo. It's awesome.
They have the ugliest color scheme.
I'm not a huge
My
fan
God.
of Golden State at all, but I can't
Really?
be too harsh because Jenny bought me a Valkyrie shirt, and I love it. It's great.
Oh,
But they're not my favourite logo by any means.
the Aces is always good. They're
Yeah,
just
the
very
Aces is cool.
yeah.
It's
I don't
simple
like
but effective.
Phoenixes.
No, I don't like Phoenixes either.
And Atlanta's is ugly as well.
We'll put out a poll this week to see what the viewers think is the best logo or the worst logo in the WNBA. But we'll move on and we'll get to the final part of this show. Now, we like our big, bold predictions, and the three of us, so Jordan, who could not be here today, disappointing.
Seriously, Jordan, you're getting
fired.
fired. I'm cutting you off.
Cutting you off. Now, you'll see, Caro won't see this because she can't see the screen, but we've got predictions and there's a J, a C and a W. So there's Jordan, Caro and Wig. And on the next few slides, for those who are watching on YouTube, if you're not and you're listening on Spotify, that's cool because we're going to tell you what they are. But some of you have got this amazing visual. I like slideshows, so I've got one together here. Now, who won the off-season is my first question. Jordan's gone with Atlanta, suggesting that Jones and Griner were some massive pickups. Caro's gone with the Valkyries, and I have gone with the Fever.
Wait, what? Did I?
Yes, you did.
Oh, that's wrong. I did not mean to put them.
You did, and I've gone with the Fever, but I've gone with the Fever just because I think the way they've got a social media campaign going. It's been really great to follow. I think they've taken the attention as much as they can away from their superstar, and they're primed to do well without one person being the face. That's what my comments were. Any other comments? I can move to the next one, Caro, because you don't sound...
I did not put Golden State there.
All right.
I'm confused.
So I told you I was in a hurry here and I might have got this wrong. So let's just see what happens here. Tell me if this is right. So the biggest player out of a team, who did you say?
I honestly can't remember because I was really stumped on this question. Who did I
So
put?
on my screen, I've got that both you and I suggested Kelsey Plum out of Vegas was a big player out of a team.
I probably said that, yeah. I was
And
really stumped.
Jordan went with Alyssa Thomas out of Connecticut.
That's one of his more respectable answers.
Well done, Jordan. You've become respectable almost immediately. The biggest in,
Mhm.
you had, I think, I'm really hoping this is right, but did you have Kelsey Plum going to the Sparks? Or did you
I
have...
did put it for that one.
Oh, good, because I've actually got that wrong on my screen, but I think you had Kelsey Plum going to the Sparks. Jordan had Paige Beckers, or was that the wrong way around?
I think I had Alyssa Thomas last time. That's the
Okay.
biggest out.
We're
I think.
we're really not going well here with the slideshow, but for the people at home who are listening on
so
Spotify, it
respectable.
won't matter because they're not looking at this slideshow. But I had Kate Martin into the Valkyries. That was my pick for that one.
Yeah.
And I feel
do
like
agree with
that's pretty accurate. Now this will be interesting. I can't have got this wrong because I'm guaranteeing this one's right. But I've got on the screen teams who can win the whole thing. Surely you didn't put Washington.
No.
Thank God.
I'm
So
not
Jordan's
stupid.
chosen one team that can win it all. One. Mystics was his response.
Weren't we meant to give 3?
Yes, we were, Jordan.
God.
So Caro
Stupid.
has chosen New York, Minnesota, and Vegas. And I have gone out on a limb here. Sorry, lecturer Caro, but I've chosen 2 because I don't think there's 3 teams who can win it. I think it's Vegas and Minnesota. I don't think New York are going to be in the mix when it comes to the end. That is my prediction, and we'll come to the next question, and actually, the question before who's going to win the whole thing is who can't win. And let's hope I get this one right. But apparently who can't win for Jordan is the sky, the Mercury, and the wings. Do you think he's got that right, Caro?
Well, it's just like, yeah, they're not going to win it, but they're not also the 3 worst teams. So it's like, hello.
Well, you've...
like...
Hello, Jordan. You've got Suns, Mercury, Mystics who can't win it.
Yes, because they're going to be like the bottom 3 teams.
And
like,
I've
that's
got
how you meant to answer the question.
Suns, Mercury, and the Dream are my 3 picks.
I don't know why he would say Dallas. Like, yeah, they're not going to win it. But that's like saying New York. Like, yeah, New York aren't going to win it. But also, they're not
But
the
they're
3
not going to be the
worst.
lowest.
Like,
yeah.
no, like Jordan, boo.
Who wins it all? Jordan's chosen outright the Mystics.
Bruh.
And Caro and Wig have both chosen the Lynx.
Yes.
I think that's bang on, Caro. I think we'll be celebrating.
Can we just put a big red cross?
I can't
Jordan's
wait. I love the
prediction?
red crosses. I love when I get to put them up. The worst record.
Stupid.
The worst record in the league at the end of the season, Jordan's calling the Chicago Sky.
Bruh.
You are calling the Washington Mystics. And I have taken the Connecticut Sun.
I want to change my answer to Connecticut now, but yes.
Too late. That's just a big red cross coming up there for you. That one's going to be interesting to watch. The hot take. Now, I asked you two for a hot take. Your hot take was that Indiana nearly win it all. Now, that's like a Jordan answer.
That's not a hot take. I realised that as soon as I put it in.
Jordan,
like, I will own up to that. That's not a hot take.
Well, at least you're honest. Jordan's hot take is the Liberty lose less than 5 games. No chance. There's no chance.
What is he on about?
I have my hot take going against what most people have written in the media is that I think Dewana Bonner's going to be pivotal. She's going to be...
Okay.
The Fever are going to need her. She's going to prove the missing puzzle piece that pushes them up. That's my hot take. And then our comeback player this season, and this is interesting. So Jordan's written Angel Reese.
How can you
And I
come back if
don't
you were never
really
out?
understand that answer because
We get him off this
what's she
podcast.
coming back from? Jordan, we need
Well,
clarification.
hello, the off season, bro. It's stupid.
You've chosen Beck Allen.
Yes,
Tell me
a
about it.
respectable answer. Well, I think she's had a many interrupted seasons. She's had a few health issues on the side, and I think that people have forgotten how good she is. Like, I think she can be dangerous for real. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping she comes out, praying she stays healthy, and if she remains healthy, she will be very pivotal and impactful for Chicago. So that's why I'm calling her comeback player of the year.
Yep, I don't disagree with that one. I've listed Cameron Brink because obviously even when she played Caro, she wasn't by any means a star. She wasn't a standout, and I think like the team she was playing on weren't very good, so that didn't help her.
Yeah.
But ACL, it's been really it's been massive in the media. Like this has been playing out. She's a big personality. A lot of followers, a lot of people are watching her every single move. And I think Kelsey Plum's big for Cameron Brink to have someone of that caliber around her. And I think she's going to be the comeback player. I think she's critical for that LA Sparks team if they want to win more games this season. So I'll be watching Cameron Brink for the Sparks. And that's the end of our predictions really for the season. I think every week now on a regular episode we'll have a segment where we review the games that have been played that week and we sort of follow along with some of our predictions and see how we're travelling and how we're tracking early on. I think Jordan's in trouble with his Mystics predictions.
Stupid.
But let's
Jordan's
see.
on probation because he said podcast.
All right,
You're
officially on probation, Jordan. But exciting times, Caro. I'm super pumped to start watching the season. We've been talking about it for so long. It just needs to happen. I'm calling out to our viewers. You need to watch. Wig Goes Whack, one of our segments that's often on the podcast. Last year, at the end of the year, I whacked the people who had not watched the WNBA just because even if you don't follow basketball that much, like some of these athletes are some of the best female athletes, not basketball players, athletes in the world. They're bloody brilliant to watch. I'm imploring people to go and have a look at some of the games. It's pretty easy to access now, so you can watch on ESPN, which is Disney Plus in Australia. So there'll be games you can watch. And there's other ways you can watch the highlights. You can follow on socials and there's stuff on YouTube. Get around it, have a look, follow along, and we'd love to hear your predictions as well. Anything else to add, Caro, before we finish up?
I don't think so.
Have you got any updates for our followers on when you will be back in this studio?
6th of June, be there or be square, I say.
Ooh, we've got a special guest coming into the studio on the 6th of June. You may be here.
It's jet-lagged Alice. Jet-lagged Alice. That's a special guest.
I think you'll be extra entertaining when you're jet-lagged. That's my call.
Yeah,
that's my hot take.
That'd be great. Yeah, that's your hot take.
That's my hot take for the Crumbs.
Yeah, this might be the last episode I'm in Vegas for.
It could be.
Potentially.
It could be. Well, we've loved having you on while you've been in Vegas. We're pumped that you're going to be back in the studio. You've also got a big announcement. I'm not going to make it today, but you've got a big announcement about an internship that you've secured that's going to be abroad with a really cool sporting event. So we will leave that as a special announcement when you're back in the studio. But safe travels if we don't speak to you before the 6th of June. And go well, Caro, and go WNBA.
Yeah, let's get this show started, I say.
Let's do it. Bye.
Bye.